video, we're going to talk about arrays, which are collections of data. You use it just like any other variable, but inside, it contains more than one value, a collection of data that you can access using an index. So let's do this. Let's create a quick example of an array in action. And we'll visit this example twice. The first time using kind of a longhand. Actually, let's do this. Okay, so let's get back to this just for a second here. Talk about the characteristics of an array. First of all, you notice here that we're defining an array of integers. And just to point out a few things, you can see the use of the square brackets that I have highlighted here. These are the array or index access operator. It's what we'll use throughout to access a specific element of the array. In this case, we're accessing the first element of the array. Array elements are zero-based. And here we are reading from the second element in the array. Again, zero-based means that 1 is the second item. So we would expect the number 8 to be printed to the screen. Let's go ahead and run the console application. You can see, indeed, it displays the number 8. Okay, so a few more features about this. You can see, first of all, this is how we're setting the value of a given element of the array. And this is how we are reading from a given element of the array. And here we have this new operator. Again, tomorrow the new operator is front and center stage. For now, just accept that the new operator has some significance. You can think of it as a factory building a new version of our array of integers. Okay, and then we have to size or initialize the size of the array, and this is important. The arrays are fixed size. When you first declare them, again, .NET has to know how much memory to reserve for this array, for these basically, think of an array as a broomstick that has buckets hanging off of it, right? And so you can carry all the buckets around with just this broomstick, and that's the same idea here, what we're talking about with arrays. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just comment out all of this and take a look at another way to write this. Or actually, before we do that, let me go ahead and uncomment that. Now look what happens if I were to try and add a sixth element to the array, which means we're trying to put something in a bucket that doesn't exist, okay? And we try to go with our last number in the sequence, 42, and we run the application, we're going to get an exception, right? The index out of range exception wasn't handled. The index was outside the bounds of the array. We tried again to put a value in a spot in memory that .NET never reserved for us. It didn't create that area in memory for us to save this value. So we get that index, the index 5, the sixth element of the array, is out of range. It can't handle it. Okay, so what we could do to fix the problem is either remove that line of code or increase the size of our array. All right, so let's go ahead and just comment, well, actually, comment this line out. Now, I want to take a look at how we can use the for loop from earlier today to iterate through all the items in the array. So I'm going to comment this line out as well. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here we're using our for loop. The only thing that is kind of different than what we worked on earlier today was the use of this length. So an array has a number of methods that we can use. If I hit the dot operator, we can look at we can access all the members of the array. And the one in particular is length that tells us how many elements are in the array. So we would expect the length to be 5, right? And so it's going to iterate through 5 times, each time writing the value inside of our array to the screen. So let's take a look and see if this actually works. And it does, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23. Great. Okay, so now let's take a look at some other ways to rewrite all of this. First of all, let me change up how we're declaring and initializing the values in our buckets. So I'm going to highlight all those and just comment them out using the comment out button. And now we're going to do this. Save it, and then I'm going to run the application, and the result is the same. So look what we did. All in one line of code, we were able to replace what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code. So here looks the beginning part where we're declaring the numbers array of integers. It looks the same. But however, on the right hand side, we can omit the new keyword as well as the initial size of the array by using this open bracket, close bracket syntax to initialize the values that we're going to put in an array. So it does two things at one time. It tells C# we want 5 items in our array, and it initializes the values or puts values in the buckets of each of the elements of the array all in one line of code. So this probably is, if you're going to use arrays in this style, this is probably the preferred way to do it. It's less verbose. Okay. Also, let's comment this out, and actually let's do this. Just to prove that we don't have to just use numbers, we can use strings as well. So let's go string. Okay, so here is an example of an array of strings called names. Exactly like the array of numbers, just a different data type. We can create these from dates and from, I've never tried it before, but I'm sure you can do it with booleans as well. Not sure why you'd want to. But just about any data type or object, as we'll see tomorrow, you can use the same technique. Moving on, let's take a look at another way to write a looping statement. A new loop that we haven't looked at just yet. We've already looked at for and the while. So here we're going to do a new one called for each. Oops. There we go. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to say is iterate through every one of the items that are in the names array. Take the value for the current item and put it in a new variable, a new string variable called name. So we're declaring name as a string, all just in with that highlighted area that I have on screen. And then what we're going to do is just loop through and write out each of the name items. Okay? So again, declare a new variable called name for each item in the names array of strings. Take it out, and then we're going to display it in the console window. So let's go ahead and run it. And you can see the latter half of our output is what we're most interested in, and it indeed worked. Great. Okay. All right, so one last thing. You know, earlier in the day we talked about different data types, and I said you don't really need to know char. All right, so I'm already going back on that. We're going to take a look, because for our homework assignment today, you're going to need to know a little bit about char. So what if I wanted to take a line of text? Let's just type out string my text equals now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. Okay. And what if I wanted to take that text and write it all in reverse order? Okay. So what I could do is create an array of characters that holds each individual letter, and then use a special method that belongs to the array called reverse to flip the order, and then we'll print them out. Sounds pretty neat, right? So let's do this. So we're going to create an array of characters, chars, okay? We're going to call it char array. We can call it anything we want. And then we're going to go my text dot to char array. So we're taking our string and we're calling this special method called turn this string into an array of chars. Okay, it's a built-in method that comes along for free in the .NET framework, just by virtue of the fact that we're working with a string and we hit the dot operator to access the available methods and properties. Okay, so now let's do this. So we want to console.writeLine all right, so now let's give this a try and see if it works. Okay, so you can see this last line is the one that we're most interested in. If we were to read it backwards, now is the time for all good men, and so on. Okay, so here again we're using an array of chars instead of a string data type, so that we can take benefit of the built-in methods of the array and reverse the order of the characters. Okay, so that's pretty neat. What I haven't told you is that there are other types of arrays, and honestly, I may have used all the other types of arrays once or twice in the 15 years that I've been doing software development. But if you're doing some sort of math or algebraic or geometry style programming, you might need to know about multi-dimensional arrays or staggered arrays or sparse arrays. Some of those are things that you can look up on your own if you ever need those. However, for our purposes today, this is all we're going to look at with regards to arrays. Just a bucket of buckets. Okay, that's as simple as it is for an array. Okay, so that wraps up our discussion of arrays for now. We'll see you in the next video. Stay strong. Let's finish out the day strong. Don't quit until it's done. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.